So welcome students. Today we will start dynamics machinery subjects, and the chapter is the rotating unbalance or critical whirling or whipping of a speeds. So the major topic that is the whirling of shaft, or we can see that the we can also known as the rotating of the shaft. The second one is this critical speed of its practical importance in the design of shaft, and application of the Dunkley method and Rayleigh method for estimating the critical speed of the shaft. So what is now we will understand what is whirling of the shaft. So whirling is defined as the rotation of the plane made by the bent shaft, and the line of the center is of the bearing. It occurs due to a number of factors, some of which it may be eccentricity, unbalanced mass, then gyroscopic force, fluid flow reactions in bearing, and viscous damping. So whirling of the shaft and critical speed, which we have seen there, the two one is the rotating shaft, and the wheel is substituted in the middle of the shaft, and the shaft is affixed as a two side of the end. So rotating of the element, it will become some whirling, or it have some vibrations in the horizontal speed. So you can see that the whirling of the shaft of a critical speed, then the figure of the whirling of the shaft. Then critical speed of the rotating system is the speed at which the shaft vibrates excessively in the transverse direction. Such a speed is also referred as the whirling speed or whipping speed of the shaft. The excessive vibration results ultimately in the failure of the shaft and the bearing. It is important to ensure that the whirling action does not occur at the operation speed. So the whirling action is the mass unbalance in a rotating system. So you can see that what is O, S and G. O means the line of bearing, S means the geometric centers, and the same is the center of mass. Sorry, G means center of the mass. So here you can see that the two green points, which is the fix at the one end, and some rotating element which is indicated in the red color zone. So axis of the rotation and the heavy side of the so it will also become some whirling or some vibration occurs at the point. So whirling of critical shafts consider a typical shaft carrying a rotor mounted between the two bearings as shown in the figure A. So let us assume that the overall mass of the shaft is negligible compared to the rotor disc, and hence we consider it is a simple torsion spring. The rotor disc, its section has a geometric center, that is the center of the circular cross section, and the mass of the center due to material distribution. These two may or may not coincide in general, leading to eccentricity as indicated in the figure number 2. So next, the whirling of a critical speed, shaft's critical speed. So the eccentricity could be due to internal material defect, manufacturing errors, etc. As the shaft rotates, the eccentricity implies that the mass of the rotor rotating with some eccentricity will cause in plane centrifugal force due to the flexibility of the shaft, and the shaft will pull away from its center line and indicated in the figures. So let us assume that the air friction damping force is negligible, and the whirling of the critical speed is also a basic parameter, that the centrifugal force for a given speed is thus balanced by the two internal resistance or force in the shaft spring and the system shaft in the bent configuration as indicated in the figure. Thus the element is rotating about the on axis and the plane containing the shaft, and the line of bearing rotates about an axis coinciding with the line of the bearing. So we consider here only the case wherein these two rotational speed are identical, called as a synchronized wall. So we have the one plane and four unbalanced masses, which is denoted as a yellow color or saffron color shape, that is plus sign indicated. So we have the many kind of example, then the say many masses in the single same plane, then different masses in different planes. So we have the number of conditions over here. So figure shows the rotor and the system undergoing a synchronized whirl in four different positions in a single revolution. Let us write down the force equilibrium equation as follow. Following notation as in the figure 2, the centrifugal force that we can force is mr omega square equation. So m omega square into r plus e, it means radius of rotation, and some resistance force ky. So whirling of the shaft critical speed, wherein the shaft stiffness is k is the lateral stiffness of a shaft, and its bearing, that is the considering the rotor and mid span of its force required to cause a unit lateral of the displacement mid span simply support the stiffness k is equal to 40 di over L3. So and the air modulus of E is the second moment of inertia or second moment of area, and L is the length between the supports. So we have the equation kr is equal to m omega square r plus E. So critical speed of the shaft carrying a single rotor and having a no damping system. So consider a vertical shaft having negligible inertia and a single rotor of mass as shown in the figure. So due to some manufacturing tolerance and the non-homogeneity of the material, the center of the gravity Z, as the mass has shifted by distance E from its geometric center S. So we have some figures, that is A, B, C, D and E. We have the 5 figures to illustrate our ideas. So when this rotor rotates, the rotor's center reflect by distance y due to radiating outwards from Z. This is the force is restricted by the stiffness of the shaft in the lateral direction, which is the force acting radially inward as shown in the figure. So S type curve is also obtained by some pull type or push type position. So we have some non-rotating condition in the figure number A. Then we have the force, that is the omega is also illustrated or reveal the omega. Then rotating condition with omega is greater than the omega in natural frequencies. So we have the figure number D, that natural angularization is higher than the angular velocity. So we have some basic equation over here, and we can achieve that as the comments in the equation, that is the, and what is the command that we have achieved. So we have the two conditions, that omega is directly natural angular velocity, that are y by e, and is proportional to the deflection at critical speed tends to infinity. Below the critical speed deflections, y is positive, and therefore the rotor rotates with the heavy side outward as shown in the figure. So we have the one equation, that is the angular velocity less than to natural velocity. So here we have the axis of rotation, then omega, then OS and G, which are we have discussed in earlier slides. So these are the heavy type of natural angular rotation. So when the operating speed is, the deflection is greater than the natural frequency. So negative the rotor rotates and the rotor rotates with the light slide of the outwards. So as the angular velocity is greater than the natural angular velocity, so we have a light side shape. So critical speed of the shaft carrying a single rotor and having a damping. So all physical system do have some amount of damping. This may be in the form of the friction or air resistance. A shaft carrying a single rotor with eccentricity or having a damping will have three forces on the disc, and the forces are the I, that means the centrifugal force acting at the center of gravity, and G for magnitude, that for m omega square along with OG. Then second is the restoring force of magnitude, that is Ky. So at the geometric center S along the SO, and the damping force at the geometric center S in the direction of opposing the velocity E, then Cy omega. So we have the some equation. So this example is based on the single plane different masses example, and we can achieve this solution by the, if angle is made with the x-axis, that is cos theta, and another plane will be the sin theta, and angular velocity omega is given. So we have the total table based system model. So critical, and we have some analytical and graphical model. So from point O, S and G, so we have an angle alpha and phi. From a graphical solution you can achieve resultant force and angle. So delta is the some LS function which can be taken by the some scale parameter. Then resolving the centrifugal force in two component and taking summation force in x and y direction and to be 0, we get the summation of fx is equal to and 0, and summation of fy is equal to, or vertical force is equal to 0. So we have the equation, that is cos alpha, and the another one example, then the from above figure. So cos theta is equal to Sn by Uj, and gs is equals to length of the element, and y is equal to another one element example. So the file is not supported in the equation, is not supported in the equation. So we have directly going through the deflection of typical beam. So we have the cantilever beam, that is the deflection is given in the WL3 by 3 EIX, and we have the cantilever with distributed load, and the deflection is the WL4 raised to 4 divided by 8 EI over X. Then we are simply supported with the point load. Then we have the deflection delta WL3 L1 L2 divided by 3 EI over L at point load, and simply supported with the distributed load at the figure number 4, that is the deflection is the 5 WL4 divided by 384 EI over X. Then fixed end with the point load, that is deflection delta is equal to WL3 divided by 192 EIX at the center, and moment of bending moment at the where the force is acting or load is acting on the half of the point. So we have the bending moment, that is m is equal to WL by 8 as per the equation. So fixed end with the distributed load, that is per unit length, then the deflection would be the WL4 by 384 EIX. Now we have the rotating unbalanced masses and application of the Dulky method. So we have a one cantilever type beam, and if we applying load at the end of the at the free end of the load, so the weight is we also know that m into g, and deflection delta and displacement x is always given. So W is equal to mg and deflection delta is given. So static deflection delta, and therefore the K is the stiffness of the shaft or force per unit deflection, therefore K delta total force required for the deflection. Then W is equal to weight, that is weight is mg, force due to the weight W causing the deflection, thus the K delta is equal to mg into K delta. So let the weight W given to initial deflection x and downward direction and release as shown in the figure. So the weight vibrates above and below the equilibrium position perpendicular to the shaft axis, causing the pre-transverse vibration, that is F is equal to m into z minus k x plus delta. So therefore the mg minus kx minus k delta is equal to minus kx. So we have this some equation, that is t time period t is equal to 2 pi under root m by k, and from the natural frequency equation is the equation would be the 1 by t is equals to 1 upon 2 pi under root k by m. So k is the m into g divided by delta, and natural frequency is equals to 0.4985 divided by under root delta. So where the natural frequency of the free transverse vibration and t is the time period of the free transverse vibration for the cantilever beam load with the concentrated mass at the end. Static deflection is given by L. This is Shapley and capital Young modulus plus, and I means the moment of inertia. So the delta would be the WL by 3 EI as per the equation. So as per the energy method or Rayleigh or Maxwell theorem or of reciprocal deflection, so let the W1 be the load in Newton, m1 would be the corresponding mass in kg, x1 and the corresponding distance from A, and y1 is the corresponding deflection when all the loads are in the position, etc. So we have the simply uniform distributed load, that is W1, W2, W3 and W4. There are the 4 kind of load are acting on the beam. So we have the capital A and capital B point. So from these are the 2 fixed type beams and length is given as a L. So we have a UDL type load that put therefore x1, x2, x3 and y3, y1, y2, y3 and y4 already given. So therefore as per the potential energy equation, we have the equation 1 by 2 W1 minus U1 sorry y1 plus 1 by 2 W and so and many more equation. So as per the kinetic energy equation 1 by 2 m1 v1 square plus 1 by 2 m2 v2 square vice versa. So kinetic energy and angular velocity W1 is equals to W, that would be the as per the natural angular velocity. So therefore the k is equals to omega square n divided by 2, and k the final equation k is equals to omega square n 2 divided by summation of m y1 square. So natural frequency equation would be the will become or would be the W divided by 2 pi. So natural frequency or some angular velocity equation under root g summation of f by divided by summation of my square into 2 pi. So Professor Deltley method is also shows some empirical method suggested by the applicable to uniform diameter shaft or shaft which can be replaced by the uniform shaft subjected to the system of several load attached to it as per the uniform distributed load. When a shaft carries multiple discs, it is always appreciated to use this method. So as per the W1, W2 and W, which are the three weight of the concentrated load at the different point along the shaft, and is the quantity in the newtons, and mass m1, m2, m3 etc. are the corresponding mass in the kg. So we have some point load, that is W1, W2, W3, and another one is the natural frequency N1 as per the some point load in the center, then some at x point, y point, some x1, x2, x3 point, and distributed load as per the key approximation of shaft. So we have some uniformly distributed load and natural frequency N1. So in the second figure, the W1 is this given in the natural frequency N1, then the A to B, and point load W2 is the natural frequency M2, and the loaded shaft with point load W2 as W3 is equal to natural frequency Fn3, and the load shaft with distributed load W, the natural frequency as the N1. So we have a length is equal to A plus B, that is the weight W is established in this distance A from the point A, and distance B, small b from point B, and that static deflection is as some delta given. So weight of the shaft is Newton as Ws, and mass ms is the mass of the shaft in kg. So delta 1, delta 2, delta 3 are the static deflection of the shaft under the load, etc. And when each load acting separately, so delta is the maximum deflection of the shaft under its own weight. Then natural frequency F1, F2 and Fn3, or transverse vibration with each load acting separately. So the natural frequency of transverse vibration of the point shaft under its own weight. So natural frequency of the transverse vibration due to weight W1. So natural frequency Fn1 is equal to 0.4985 under delta 1 into Hz or Hertz. So as per the point load W2, the natural frequency of the transverse vibration due to load W2, and then Fn2 is equal to 0.4985 divided by W2 into Hertz. And as far as concerned with the W3, Fn3 is equal to 0.4985 under W2 delta 3 as the unit Hertz. So as far as concerned with the natural frequency of the transverse vibration due to uniformly distributed load and weight of the shaft is Fns. So 0.565 is the universal equation divided by 1 delta S into Hz. So we have some natural frequency, and as per the Deltley empirical method, 1 by Fn square is equal to 1 upon Fn1 square plus 1 upon Fn2 square plus 1 upon F2, and so we have the some equation based on this. So natural frequency F is equal to 0.4985 under root delta 1, delta 2 and delta 3 up to and so n and up to and so n. So we have the some deflections and some typical beams, that is the cantilever beam, and the deflection is the WL3 divided by 3 EIEX. So cantilever with distributed load, and the deflection would be the WL4 divided by 8 EIX, and some simply supported with the point load, and then the load acting in the center at the delta is equal to WL1 L2 square divided by 3 IL, and simply supported with distributed load W, that is the uniformly distributed load, delta is equal to 5 WL4 divided by 38.4 EIX at the center. So at the fixed end with the point load, delta is equal to WL3 divided by 198 EIX at the center, and the bending moment as the WL by 8. And last one is the distributed load with the deflection is WL45 384 EIX. So we have the practical implication. We are assuming that the second frequency and hence other higher frequency are far higher than the fundamental frequency. Here other word we can say that when the system modes are well separated, Dunkley method works well. And for a typical automobile, for example, the frequency of the bounces and pitch of the both in the ranges from 1 to 2 Hz, and the system has several frequencies with the 0 to 15 Hz as a range, and Dunkley approximation is unlikely to give some good estimate. So we have this one car example, and the bounce and pitch at the some roadside example we have taken at the what is bounce and what is the pitch mode of an automobile. So Dunkley method has to determine the approximate fundamental natural frequency, as the equation 1 upon omega square is equals to 1 upon omega 1 at the we can establish at the point, or some load calculation as we have discussed in the beam, that is cantilever, then point on fixed type beam as far as concerned, as the 1 divided by omega 1 square plus omega 2 square plus omega 3 square and plus 1 omega or 4 square and up to so on, and you can calculate the result at the bounce and pitch of the mode of the automobile example. So up to now we have discussed some important points. So we will meet our next video lecture series. Okay, bye bye.